Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to this week's Chosen video. I've entitled this one Chosen to Feed. We're looking at Mark 6, what's commonly called the feeding of the 5,000. Um, and I think maybe another title would be Jesus teaches his disciples to do it themselves. Um, you know the story pretty well, but I want to bring out a couple points of the story. At this point, the disciples had just come back from their mission trip where Jesus had sent them out. They're telling Jesus about all that happens, and they're exhausted. And Jesus recognizes this. So the story begins with Jesus telling the disciples, let's go away by ourselves for a bit so you can rest. And in their going away, they were followed by great crowds. Jesus' reputation has gotten to such a point that people are following him everywhere he goes. And he's got this huge crowd of thousands now following him. And he teaches, and there's it's time to eat, and everybody's hungry. And the disciples say, remember the disciples at this point, they're dog tired. They were looking for a place to rest, and now they're back at work again without resting. And the disciples say, send them away so they can go get something to eat. And Jesus tells these dog tired disciples, you give them something to eat. And they don't know what he means. Jesus knows what he's going to do, but the disciples don't know what Jesus is going to do. And they look at the crowd of 5,000, and we find out it's not just 5,000, it's 5,000 men plus women and children. And they look at that crowd, they think there's no way we can give them something to eat. And Jesus tells them, go and find out what you have. Go and find out what you have. And so they do, and they come back, and they've got 5 loaves and 2 fish, and that's what they have. And Jesus takes what they have, and he multiplies it, and he feeds the 5,000 men, plus women and children, and has leftovers. Our other reading, our verse for the week, comes from 1 John, and John says, if anyone has material possessions and sees a brother or sister in need but has no pity on them, how can the love of God be in that person? If you have it and someone else needs it and you're not using what you have to bless people, how can the love of God be in that person? I had this driven home in a unique way this past weekend. Some of you know one of my passions is fly fishing, and I like to tie my own flies. And there was a big expo at Hamline University this weekend called Great Waters Fly Fishing Expo. And there were a number of people there, vendors, people that sell fishing rods or fishing reels or flies, or people that tie supplies, or people that sell trips. But there were also a number of charities there, people that use fly fishing to help inner city youth, or help disabled veterans, or help people dealing with grief. Or there was one booth of women fly fishers who all they do is help women breast cancer survivors, and they use what they have, fly fishing and fly tying, to do that. And there was one group I talked to for just a minute. It was I talked to all the groups, but most of them I found out do all of their stuff on Wednesday night, and I couldn't commit to anything. And I really felt like this was a way I could help. And I found one group of the group that helps disabled veterans, and they get them together and teach them how to tie flies, and then they take them fishing with the flies that they tied. And I thought, I can do that. And they meet on Thursday night. And so I was going to sign up. And I looked at the list they had of people who had signed up. And you got to remember, this is Saturday. The event started Friday. There's thousands of people there. Thousands of people had walked by this booth. And when I signed up to help, I was the 8th name on the list out of thousands of people there, all who fly fish, most of whom know how to tie flies. 8 people signed up to help. And I thought, this reminds me a lot of church. We've got all these people who could help, and we've got a select few who do. And I think the lesson for all of us this week is Jesus has given you stuff. Take what you have, whether it's 5 loaves and 2 fish, whether it's the ability to just listen, whether it's the ability to repair things, whether it's the ability to cook or sew or whatever it is. Take what Jesus has given you and find a way to use it to bless someone else. That's the lesson this week. Find a way to take what Jesus has given you and use it to meet someone else's need. Have a great week. See you next time.